Hi, I'm Craig Rowland, founder of Sandfly Security. If you've seen our other videos, we've shown you how to install Sandfly and how to add hosts. In today's video, we're going to show you how to do your first scan of a Linux system using Sandfly's agentless intrusion detection and incident response platform. Plus, we'll review some of the results so you can see what the forensic data looks like. Let's go over to the user interface and I'll show you how it all works. All right, we've logged in the user interface and we're ready to go. Now, if you've seen our other video, we've already added hosts to this platform. Now, Sandfly is an agentless product, which means we can just scan Linux systems without deploying anything permanently running on those endpoints. And it also means we're extremely compatible and safe. So we have a wide variety of systems in our demonstration fleet. Some are very old, some are very new. But the main thing here to understand is it's extremely quick and easy for us to get results on whether or not these systems might have been compromised. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to our scanning section here, and we have a manual scan. And what we're going to do is we're going to kick off a manual scan against these systems to detect any threats. Now, there's a couple reasons why you might want to do it. First of all, you might be doing an incident response and you're curious to see whether or not any systems might have been affected by an attack. It could also be that you saw perhaps suspicious activity on a system. You want to kick a scan off against those hosts. Or maybe it's part of a security playbook that you have in your security operations center that you want to have us do an investigation. But for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. All it matters is that you could kick off a manual scan whenever you feel like it for whatever reason you want. Now, for today's demonstration, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select all of our systems we want to scan. We have different ways to do this as well. You could put tags on systems here, for instance, external and internal hosts. If I only wanted to scan my external systems, I could go there. Or internal systems or drift detection hosts, I could go ahead and scan them. But the main thing to understand is that at this point, we have the ability to scan whatever host you want. You can also do particular hosts here. If I just put in the word drift, for instance, I'm going to find all my drift hosts, or I could just type in Ubuntu if I want to search just my Ubuntu host. So go ahead and have a play with that search bar that can help you get down to the host that you want to scan. But we selected all of our hosts for the demonstration. We're going to hit next. And just like the host scan selection, we also have various filters that you could apply here. So for instance, we could, scan only for process type attacks. Or we might want to scan, look, we're only interested in saying we want file type attacks against the system. Or we're going to do for active only. Now, what I mean by active is by default, we have a number of Sandfly scan modules that are going to be enabled. And we recommend when you're first starting to use a platform that you just use the defaults that are in it. I know it's tempting for you to go ahead and turn everything on and start running it. It's kind of the human nature, but just use the defaults. You'll be a lot happier. A second thing we have in the product is the ability to do what we call an incident response Sandflies. Now, incident response Sandflies do a very in-depth investigation of a host. They tend to have higher false alarms, and they also tend to have a lot more time that it takes for them to run. But if you're investigating a system that you're quite sure has been compromised, they might be something you want to use as part of your investigation to make sure you don't miss anything. But again, for today's demonstration, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to select all the standard active Sandflies without doing anything weird. We're also going to use a standard priority, which is low. We could do low, medium, or high. The low priority is perfectly fine for Sandfly, unless you have some very specific situation where you think we need to run at high priority. But generally speaking, Sandfly is known as having extremely low latency and performance impacts on remote hosts. We run perfectly fine on the low priority setting. So just go ahead and give that a go. And I think you'll find that it's going to work fine for 99.9% of all your use cases. Now, after we selected our Sandflies, we're going to go ahead and hit finish. And this is going to populate our scanning queue. This is going to allow the system to connect over SSH to these remote systems and begin the investigation. So if we're running all of our scans by hand, it's hundreds, probably over 1,000 modules at this point. And what that means is that it could take several minutes for it to run, depending on what that remote host is doing. So this is going to take normally a little bit longer than our automated scans, because the automated scans tend to do smaller percentage of those scans many times throughout the day. The manual scan, we could select as many as we want. Again, for the demonstration here, we selected all of them. So this is going to take a little bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and let that finish. And once it does, we're going to come back to the results view in the user interface, and we're going to go over some of the results and how they look. So let's pause for a moment, and then we'll come back and review the rest of the data. Okay, the scan has completed and we already have some results come back. We can see on our dashboard here, we have 9 results out of a total of nearly 30,000 things that we checked for on these systems. If I go over here to my results view, I can see here that all these systems that are green are showing basically no threats have been detected, but we do have one here called diamorphine, and this actually has a diamorphine loadable kernel module stealth rootkit on it. I'm going to click on this and we're going to go through a couple of these results. Now, I'm only going to touch on these results very briefly to keep this video short because we're mainly focusing on how to do a manual scan today. So check out our other videos where we dive much deeper into the actual results that you could see that Sandfly can produce. But the first thing to notice here is that all the results are what we call a stack of results. Essentially, Sandfly is not trying to identify a specific threat. What we're doing instead is we're looking at the tactics of compromise that resulted in that system going into an alert state. In the case of this host with diamorphine, it's a loadable kernel module stealth rootkit. So if you log on this host, you actually won't see any activity with standard system tools. It is completely effective at hiding it. But if we click on a couple of these entries, you'll see a couple things here. First of all, we see that we flagged this alert here as a cloaked entry. So the way diamorphine works is anything with the word diamorphine in it is basically not going to show up in the file system. So we hit a binary here under this directory and we've gone ahead and we've decloaked it. You'd get all the standard file information down here about that file. We also have what we call raw result JSON over here, which gives you all the information about the system file that we found, or if it's a directory or it's a user or it's a process. Basically all this JSON information is going to be made available to you, and also could be sent up to your external security operations center if you want us to do that as well. A couple other things that are interesting down here too. We found a kernel module that was hidden. Again, a diamorphine. We found here that there's a kernel module called diamorphine. It's just trying to hide itself in the directory. Again, standard things here. We get the standard information about that kernel module. We see some empty dates here because it's hiding itself. You can also initiate an AI analysis, which again, we'll cover in other videos as well. For the case here, for this analysis, we could simply hit Analyze Now. It's going to go ahead and connect to whoever your LLM provider is, whether it's Google, whether it's OpenAI, whether it's XAI, or an internal LLM using the OpenAI API spec. So you can run this information through your own LLM without exposing it to the external third party. So this usually takes a few seconds to run depending on who your AI analysis system is. In this case, we're using the Gemini product, Gemini 3, which is actually a very good product. And you can see here, it's already came back with our analysis. A known loadable kernel module rootkit called diamorphine is active and hiding on the system. It goes over to all the information as well. Also available from inside of the results list here is I can always click on the actual host name. The host name is going to take us back to our host view, which again is going to have all the combined information about what's going on. Complete again also with AI analysis. So if I click on my AI analysis for this host, I could see that basically here an AI analysis of what we see going on. This is taking an aggregate of all the alarms and passing it to the LLM to give you a synopsis of what's happening. And again, we can see here the host is compromised a diamorphine kernel level rootkit, which is actively hiding files. So those are some of the results that you're going to see from doing a manual scan. So again, check out our other videos. We're going the deeper dive into the results. I don't want to go into too much in this video because it's going to get way too long, but that video that on the results is going to be posted. You'll see that we can go into extensive details about the Linux forensics and other information about attacks against your Linux systems. So I'm Craig Rowland from Sandfly Security. Thanks for watching this video. Check out our other operation videos on Sandfly. They'll walk you through the product and show you how quick and easy it is to secure and monitor your Linux systems using agentless technology. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye.